Hey everybody, it's Kyle. Hey, today it's Friday, so hopefully your weekend is getting off to a good start. I'm heading into work this morning, but I wanted to share a story that happened to me over last weekend because it kind of impacted me, and I've tried to apply some of the things that I saw throughout this weekend. I've had real good results with it. So over the weekend, last weekend, I was at Walmart with my twins, my 8-year-old twins. And, we were doing the general grocery shopping, little bread and cereal and all those things that we have to have. And as we were heading back towards the cashier, I looked over and saw a guy that I know who's got, I want to say, 4 typical kids. One of his sons, though, has a physical disability and has had some heart issues and some, well, I won't go into too much detail, but anyway, so he's a guy who I can chat with a little bit and who understands, some of the difficulties we can face. Although a different situation, a lot of similarities. And so, pretty good buddies with him. And so I see James and his kids walking out, and I see them all stop. And James turns to his probably 7-year-old son and just gives him this big old giant hug. And his son, his face is turned to me, and he just smiles really big as his dad is hugging him. And at that point, I decided that he hadn't seen me, so I decided to leave him alone. And I didn't mess with him. Usually I mess with people I see at Walmart. I'll, roll a can of soup at their feet and just say their name in a whisper and hide, just to kind of have fun with people. But, it really got me to thinking, because I saw him. Well, it got me to thinking about how much I hug my typical kids. I've expressed to you before that one of my sons on the autism spectrum just doesn't really like me and hasn't really treated me very well for probably 4 or 5 years now. He's going through puberty and turned into a man and just really doesn't want to have anything to do with me. But one of my reactions to him being mean to me is to hug him. And so he's learned that, and it's been conditioned into him that if he's mean to me, I'm going to come over and try to hug him, and he doesn't like that. So if he starts to get mean, I start to move towards him and put my arms out, and he stops being mean to me pretty quick. But my typical kids, I just don't know that I hug them as much as I probably should, and James kind of reminded me of that. And so I probably hugged all my typical kids at least twice a day since Saturday of last week. It's now Friday, and after a few days of it, my little girl kind of whispered in my ear after the second hug of the day, or the third hug. I have a tendency to hug her a lot because she's just super sweet, and she just whispered, "I love you, Daddy," in my ear. And so my message for today is not just your kids on the autism spectrum should you be physically hugging and letting them feel your love, but make sure you take a little bit of time, at least once a day, to give all your typical kids a real good hug. Maybe even the kind that when you squeeze them so tight their eyes bulge a little bit. And that's kind of what James did at Walmart last week, and what I've tried to do this week. And I've seen they like it. The kids like it. They want to know you love them. And just a big, giant "I love you" hug without even saying anything can make them feel that way. So do that this weekend. Hug your kids a lot. See if they notice. If they don't want to be hugged, that probably means they're doing something they shouldn't. It's been my experience. But they generally like it. And I'll close by telling you that when I was a kid, my dad put his arms around me a lot too. When I was little, I remember loving it. When I got to be 12, 13, 14, I didn't like it at all. 15 and 16, I would kind of stick my hand out, and my sons did the same thing when they were 16. because I didn't want to be hugged. And then after I moved out and got married, and I started enjoying those hugs again by my dad. And truthfully, he hugged me till the day he passed away. And kind of miss those hugs from my dad. But have a great weekend. Hug your kids this weekend a lot. Let them feel your love. Have a great weekend. I'll talk to you Monday. Bye-bye.